Welcome to today's Local Yokels Podcast. I'm Neil Colley, your host today. And as always, we're bringing local businesses, local individuals to spotlight on what they're doing in the community to make things better, help each other, and just kind of overall community service really is what we kind of look at. I want to remind everybody of my sponsors, RoofWorks Roofing Company. You can reach them at roofworksmidsouth.com if you're needing some kind of evaluation of your roof. Patchwork, a full roof, commercial, residential, they do it all. They're amazing. So reach them at roofworksmidsouth.com at 662-303-0345. And of course, always remember Feed My Lambs. That's my co-sponsor and my main focus on the page, on the show actually, 662-781-1333 or minormemorial.org/lambs. And with that being said, this year's fundraiser is going to be on October 11th. At Minor Memorial Church in Walls, Mississippi. Derek will be prompting up all that information where we're going to be giving away, raffling off the 78C10 Resto Mod that we just built or purchased. We were building it. It was built, but it just wasn't specific built.
So I know somebody that used to have that truck. Whose was it?
Gary Sullivan.
Okay. Somebody messaged me on Facebook and said that used to be their truck.
Could have been. I don't know. So, well, since you chimed in, Miss Rachel, welcome.
Hello.
Rachel Wooten.
That's right.
All right. TikTok, Facebook phenomenon of Hernando. I
like it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome today, and why we have you on here, and kind of what you do.
Yeah. So I'm from Hernando. I've lived here my whole life. My dad actually used to own JR's Bait Shop on 51.
Okay.
So I grew up dipping minnows and crickets and fishing. And I have my own business, Metabolic Solutions, and then I work for the Pink Berets. And then I also work part-time at the Baker's Corner here in Hernando.
Nice.
I do a little bit of everything there. Between the social media and learning to bake, learning to make coffee, all kinds of...
A barista.
Barista. Yeah. And let me tell you, that is one of the hardest jobs I've ever had. So
I'll give you a backstory on that here in just a little bit. First, I wanted to say this. Sipping Lemonade. I stopped by today. They're going to be at our fundraiser for Feed My Lambs. Okay. They have a mobile unit if you want to have them out to one of your amazing events, fundraisers, something like that. Sipping Lemonade, and you had a little taste of it.
I did.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was really good. It's very good. And reach out to them. I think that is going to be Raymond. I can't remember how he told me to say it. Raymond Winters, Amanda Winters, and you can reach them at 662-809-7850 if you guys are interested in having them be a part of something you're doing. But man, I was shocked.
Yeah, and it was not too sweet. You know, a lot of times lemonade's sour and sweet, but that's got the perfect little sweetness
and
to it.
And it was like I want to say a coconut raspberry.
Oh, yeah, it was refreshing.
What it was.
It was a day on the beach,
and it's
for
fresh.
Sure.
I watched them freshly squeeze it all. So it was a pretty cool treat, and I'm going to have them out there for our fundraiser. I think they'll do really good. And they're kind of a new group starting up, so I just want to support them for supporting us. So back to your barista work. Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard.
So I was a nurse, and then I did medical device sales. So, I mean, I would say I'm fairly educated. I can make a coffee.
Sure.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's real hard.
Yeah, to do it right.
It's art.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You got to know what time to quit steaming.
Oh,
that's
100%.
That's a big time. So, in my beginning of my life, I was a restaurateur, so to speak, and so wound up in this. Before it was ever real popular, probably back in at least outside the East Coast. You know, that's kind of a new thing here for sure. But out west where I was at in Wyoming, we had these bagel maker bagels, they were called them. And bagel maker bagels, that was the name of it. But it was also a coffee shop / bagel shop. Yeah. And when I got involved with it, this dude had already kind of it was East Coast style bagels. And he was talking about espresso and all this. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about, but I was going to run them and be a part of it. So I had to learn the game, you know. You're right. Learning that was probably the most difficult part of it. It's hard. It really is.
It's hard. And I've, like I say, I felt like I'm pretty, educated. When I was a nurse and I did medical device sales, I mean, we were implanting $40,000 devices in the patients. And I mean, I was the programmer for it. So I was like, man, this is nothing. Yeah. Making some coffee.
That's right.
Yeah. These little 16-year-old girls put me in my place real fast.
Oh, yeah. They got all the tricks down.
Oh, yeah.
They know exactly I mean, I'm sure the machines are probably a little more advanced, but I love the old style machines that real pretty and decorative, like the new age stuff is very computerized and all that crap. One of the ones I found way back in the day, I mean, it was literally everything was hand cranked, pressured by hand. You had to make sure you watched where your steam. Yeah. Like if you get it too frothy, you spoil the milk.
100%.
Every time. Yeah. So are you involved, like you like the chai teas and stuff like that?
So chai teas, I don't like them. Yeah. But they are very good for you.
They are.
So working in my natural health journey, coming to work at the coffee shop, I was very surprised at the amount of people that come in and order matcha. Yeah. So have you ever had matcha?
No.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It's very earthy.
Do I look like a matcha guy? A macho, but not matcha.
And you are right, though. The people that come in and order it, they're like, man, I can imagine they'd order a matcha. But then there's some people that come in and I'm like so surprised that they get it. So like Emily Adams, the eye doctor here at Elite Eye Care, I love her. She's great. I went to her 3-year anniversary trunk show she had the other day. So if you're looking for an eye doctor locally, she's very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Let me stop you right there. By the way, Rachel is a promoter of all, just like I am. We're promoting people all the time. So part of the reason why I found you, we were talking about this before the show, I found you on TikTok.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't know who you were. I was just scrolling through, and all of a sudden I seen this chick talking about natural foods and remedies and living a natural life, and things that like a guy my age needs to be concerned about, so I thought, well, she's local too. It's pretty cool. So I just started following her page. And then a friend of ours mentioned, do you know her? And I'm like, I don't know her, but I want to know her. So I reached out to you about coming on the show. So when you talk about the things you were saying, that's how I found her, was on TikTok. So if you guys can follow her, Rachel Wooten. Yes. On TikTok.
Yeah, it's called, my username is Earth to Wooten.
Earth to Wooten. So
I know my husband thought the same thing. Hey,
give him a shout out because he's putting up with some junk here.
Oh yeah,
you're full time.
Yes, Seth. Yes, everybody knows Seth. He would be great to have him. If you want a good show, have him on here, and people will back me up on that comment too. We both do work together. We do a lot of volunteer work. We try to help people in the community, just like you said. We're all about sharing. Anytime what I've learned, and I know you've learned this too. Just by posting on TikTok and social media, just by trying to build, my business. He's trying to build his own business on the side, just like you as well. You learn really quickly who you have support from and who you don't have support from. So what you just said about the community, I'll share, comment, whatever I got to do to help somebody out, because the more you do that, the more you're helping people out.
Well, I think when I spotted you, when I really came to my attention, you kept going in all these places I know that were friends of mine, like Primos. And you were open there. As soon as they opened their new business up, you're in there like spotlighting them. Look what they got, guys. And you did a whole cool TikTok. And I'm like, what is she up to? And so I started watching more and more. And I'm like, you were doing this with everybody.
Yeah.
Not just here either. Like you go to Tunica, South Haven. You're all over the place in DeSoto County.
Well, my husband, he's big on keeping traditions alive, like he talks about all the time, that if we don't take care of our local community, there will not be no more local community. Right. And that's, me and him focus on that a lot, whether it's whoever it is. We just want to keep everything, if we can keep it local, let's keep it local to help each other out. That's right. My dad, like I said, so when Primos was in their old building, that was called the little store that my dad used to own. So when I went in there, the way he had it set up, my he used to have a deli in there. Oh. So it was the bait shop and it was the little store on the side. So when he had that, me and him talked about it, the owner of Primos. And so when he moved to the other place, I really wanted to highlight, man, look, he's grown with this. Like, he's really trying to grow his business, Sure. So just like my dad owned a business, if you've got to have your local people to keep your businesses going.
That's what supports everything, and everything's so corporate these days. Without the little local guys like Frankie and them down there and his wife, they do an amazing job, and they've really done well growing that business.
Oh,
and
they're great people.
The people from the county, I won't just say Hernando, but the people from all over the county come and support him. Yeah. They got some great products, man. Yeah. Like, he don't sell anything in there that's like low quality.
Yeah,
it's very top quality.
Stuff.
So shout out to Frankie, and they help us Feed My Lambs program.
Okay,
I buy a lot of my meat from them and stuff, the barbecue butts and everything we do. So, and if you haven't had their pork chops, check them out. They're pretty amazing. Those are things that are just unbelievable. So But again, just spotlighting other people, trying to see them succeed. We talk about wanting to see other people. I do. I don't want to see anybody fail.
Right.
I look at their mental health being successful, financially, physically, whatever the case may be. I love to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate on nobody for doing good. Yeah, and I want to pick people up. I think my friend Jenna Kern always says a little help up, is always good.
Oh, yeah.
A kind word, anything.
Oh, yeah,
So,
anything. A smile, anything. I learned that, even as a nurse and even when I got into medical device. So when I was a nurse, I worked in pain management. So with pain management comes a lot of mental health problems, specifically depression. And I learned really quickly a lot of those patients that would come in, they were just coming in to see me that day. Like
Sure.
it may not have been that they wanted to get that nerve block or they wanted to get that injection. It was just me being there, giving them a smile on their face, or the doctor that I worked for at the time that taught me a lot of what I know now.
A lot of bedside manner too.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of patients, that's their highlight of the day is just getting out of the house to come see you, And then when I did medical device sales, when I would program these patients, a lot of them, it may not have been that I needed to program their patient. They just wanted to get out of the house and visit with me because it made them happy. Either their wife had passed away or they lived by themselves or something along those lines that they just wanted to get out of the house. And I was that presence that put that smile on their face.
Yeah,
so.
I think I've been there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like somewhere like a friendly face going to help you get through it.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that. And like, when you get there, they're going to help you in more ways than one.
Right.
So
yeah.
I get all that. So your background, we talk about that a little bit. You started off, on the pain management side of it, and then you got into the medical device side of things.
Yes.
So you transitioned from nurse to medical device. Yeah.
Sales, yeah.
Now tell me, because you're not real old, by the way. So I'm trying to figure out where you transitioned, and then you got out of that, and you got into what you're doing now.
I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So the medical devices you were doing, did you find yourself just caught up in a corporate world?
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Well, so I'm super glad I worked medical device because first off, I would have never dreamed in a million years that I would be working medical device making the money I made. Like,
sure,
that was a huge eye-opener to me for that I'm working 3 days, maybe a week, maybe 1 or 2 hours, and you're paying me $130,000.
Yeah.
But the company I worked for at the time, our medical device worked.
Right.
It wasn't. And I'll tell you too, when I worked in medical device, I learned really quickly how corrupt the medical field is. Very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's all because of money. And I mean, I'll never forget my first training I went to, the rep at the time was friends with the doctor, like friends to where they play golf on the weekends, they hang out, they're buddies. Mm-hmm. You help me, I help you, that kind of buddy. And so they would literally look at the sheet of paper, look at what insurance they had, look at maybe what medical device they had, and they would say, hey, can you swap these out to this medical device? Like, not even asking the patient now. Mm-hmm. And just because he knew that he'd get a good commission check out of it. It was never patient focused.
It's all relationship based sales.
Oh, yes, it is. And, at the time, I'm thinking, I'm just sitting there like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I'm just one of those people. You tell me to jump.
You're learning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've learned. Yeah. I learned real quick. And I am, my mom and dad raised me that you say yes, ma'am, yes, sir, to everybody. But also one of my weaknesses is, you tell me to jump and I say how high. Like, that's just who I am when I work for somebody. Right. And so I was just there to do a good job, do what I was told, and make straight A's. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a straight A student.
Yeah, me neither, by the way.
Yeah. But so anyways, but also the medical device that I work for, it worked. So when I did pain management, we put a lot of spinal cord stimulators in. We put every company in. And to me, that was my favorite day of the week because these patients, it was either back surgery or spinal cord stimulator. This is your last resort. Right. Hopefully this works. If not, sorry about your luck. Like, we've done everything we can. So I learned real quickly about spinal cord stimulators because either they worked or they didn't, and then, but also I also learned really quickly that there is still a huge psychological mental health problem when it comes to pain management too, that I feel like we do not pay attention to. But we'll talk about that later. But so anyways, the one that I work for, our device, so a lot of the spinal cord stimulators, when you cut them on, you feel like a tingling sensation or a vibration sensation, kind of like a TENS unit. So if you've ever used a TENS unit, you can feel it, or like
electronic pulses.
Right, yeah. So when these patients would turn it on, where they would feel their back and their leg pain, they would feel that vibration sensation. Well, the company that I work for, we could go up to 10,000 kilohertz. The other companies can only go up to 12,000 kilohertz, and that's why they felt that pulsing sensation. But ours, since we could go all the way up to 10,000 kilohertz, when they would cut it on, they didn't feel anything.
Right.
It was like a dog whistle. You blow it, we can't hear it, but the dog can hear it.
Sure.
So same thing with our device. Even though they couldn't feel it, it was still working in the background. But it was kind of like a wash-in period. So once we placed the implant, or we would do a trial first, we would cut it on. They usually wouldn't be able to tell if they were getting relief till 24 hours later. Well, I was the one that would always call and check on them. So I was talking to patients 7 days a week, my 6 years I worked there. So that following day, I could always tell how things were going to go, if they were getting relief or not. And I mean, it was amazing. Everybody was getting 80 to 100% relief. The goal is to get at least 50% relief. That's the goal, or that's what insurance companies need or want to be able to get the full implant. So the fact that we were getting 80 or 100% relief, I mean, that's huge. I mean, don't get me wrong. We still had patients that would say, no, I'm not getting anything. And a lot of those patients, it was a mechanical issue that maybe the nerve, it wasn't nerve related.
Sure.
So, but the patients that got the implants for back and leg pain, we also got the indication for peripheral diabetic neuropathy.
Wow.
So none of the other companies at the time had that indication. So when these patients that have diabetes, they have neuropathy in their feet, the burning, tingling, numbness, all that. Yeah. So anyways, when they would cut that stimulator on, that burning, tingling, and numbness would go away. Well, that was something nobody else had. Yeah. Well, eventually the other companies did get the indication for it, but we were killing it. Our patients were doing great. And the peripheral diabetic neuropathy patients, they were my favorite ones because they weren't on opioids. They were usually maxed out on gabapentin or amitriptyline or something along those lines for their neuropathy. And so they had no interest in opioids. They just wanted the burning and tingling gone. They just wanted to wear their shoes again. Mm-hmm. And when we started working with them, I mean, I was doing phone calls where they were in tears. They're like, I can wear shoes again. I can walk again. Well, then these patients that we started doing the implants for, they would call me like 2 or 3 months down the road, and they would say, hey, I'm going to cut the stimulator off. And I'm like, why? Why are you cutting it off? Well, ever since I got the implant and my neuropathy went away, I started walking more. I lost weight.
Sure.
And the neuropathy went away.
Right.
So it's a win-win, but also, they got this $30,000 device that they're about to cut off. But hey, I didn't care. Like, look, you don't need it anymore. You can cut it off, Right. So I love that part of it. If there was a way that I could have just worked with those patients, nothing against people with chronic back and leg pain, because my husband, everybody knows he has a jacked up back. He has the worst scoliosis I've ever seen in my entire life. And I mean, I do too, and I know there's people that suffer with chronic back and leg pain or chronic pain, but I just liked the diabetic patients at the time because they were getting relief and not needing the machine at the same time. It was amazing.
Yeah, they were getting exponentially better because they were able to do more moving around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and losing weight.
Yes, yeah.
A lot of healthy things were coming from the whole program, and probably, I know that myself, a couple of years back, I messed up my sciatic nerve.
Yeah, it's no fun.
No. And I wound up getting put on gabapentin, and it stacked on me. I believe it was a cause of a hospitalization for me. Right. Like it blocked all my nerve receptors. Yeah. And I was on the lowest dose possible. Yeah. But I had messed up that nerve in my leg, and it was just always burning and aching. Oh, yeah. And still I'd have trouble with it. I have to get lay down a lot just to kind of keep it from tightening up and all that stuff. So, but I don't take anything at all. Once that little deal went through, there was nothing you can get me to take after I had that little episode of losing days. But so I know the desperation, of thinking that a pain pill will help anything. I mean, if you told me sticking a 12-inch butcher knife within there and help me, I probably would do it. So at the times when it was so bad and you're still having to work and function in life, it's very agonizing. So
and mentally it messes with you.
Mentally, you're just a mess, So I get that side of it. So you learned all that. You got to a point. At some point, you're like, man, I just hate this side of it, like this corporate money. It's never enough type thing. Because that's what it becomes. Yeah,
that's exactly. Yeah. Well, so what you just said with that, our device was so simple when I first started. It was place the lead over the 910 disc space, cut it on. That's all you had to do.
Right.
And it's either it worked or it didn't work. Well, what you just said, big corporate, we had a really good CEO at the time, and he had to step away. We got a new one, long story short. And then all of a sudden we started wanting to do all this AI stuff. And I'm like, why do we need AI? Like, you just put it in and you cut it on. Why do we need to make things more fancier than we need to?
To charge more.
So prices went up, you know, and then also let's pair them to our phones and all this. And I'm like, what are we doing? You know, and the patients were mad. But then also, to be honest with you, one of the main reasons why I stepped away from the corporate world is, I'll be honest with you, this is what started my natural health journey, was I had to get the COVID vaccine, okay? So I did not want to, and I signed every declination you could sign at every hospital in this area. I did everything that I could not to get it. And I'm not judging people who have gotten it or who haven't gotten it, because to each their own. Everybody has their reasons of why they didn't do it or why they did it. And at the end of the day, I'm like you, I'm a good person, and I'm never going to judge somebody for why they did or didn't do it.
Sure.
But
it's a personal choice.
Exactly. We all have our...
But they did force people to work. If you're going to work, you're going to take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
and
that was a problem.
Well, that's what happened to me. So I got to the point to where my boss at the time called me and he said, you still haven't turned in your thing. And I said, well, I don't want to. And he said, well, that's fine. I understand that. But just know that if you don't, we'll have to find somebody who can and will do that.
Right.
Well, at the time, I just went through a divorce. I didn't have mommy and daddy's money to run to.
Sure.
I was a single mom with 2 kids in private school. So what do? I had no choice. So at the end of the day, I prayed about it. My dad looked at me and said, everything's going to be okay. And I just did it, you know, and I just didn't think anything of it, out of sight, out of mind. You know, I had people saying it's going to be okay. Just don't worry about it. Well, at the end of the day, it really just put a thorn in my side that I was like, you know what? We live in a world today that forces you to do something that
Lots
you may
of
not.
Things.
I have
control.
no choice. Yeah. I have no choice. And if we also live in a world that's ran by money. Yeah. You know, and so that was enough for me to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to take a step back. And I did. I quit. And a lot of it was for my own mental health. You know,
well, let's get to that part, because I know that you're big on that. And that's part of your thing. We got a lot of stuff we got to cover here. And I know, so we got the backstory to why you quit. And it was probably, I know in my own case, there was a job I quit many years ago, and everybody was like, why would you leave that? You know what I mean? Yeah. It was really my mind more than anything. Like, I knew I needed to get out of there. Yeah. You know, great job, great people, great pay, all the stuff that you could want for, you know. Right. Why would anybody quit that? Yeah. Well, it was my own personal mind. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Yeah. You know, it was taxing on me. And I'm very much like, you know, pretty much have a discussion with my wife about, like, well, tomorrow I think I'm going to turn in my notice, you know, and she just knows, like, it's going to work out. You know what I mean? Because I'm that guy, you know, and I kind of live my life just winging it. You said that earlier when we texted today. I was like, just wing it, like life in general, you know, and I'm kind of that way too. And, you know, from what I do now for a living, I just winged it off into it, to starting the fundraisers, getting involved in charity work, just winged it. Starting this podcast, I just winged it. You know? It
all works out in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Something's going to work out fine. So I get where you're coming from. But now, especially mental health, you find that as soon as you gave your notice and you walked away, you just immediately started recovering?
No.
No, you didn't have that happen?
So, well, I'll tell you, yes and no. So,
but you were going through a divorce.
Oh, well, no. Yeah. So, yeah, I did go through a divorce, but then at the time when I quit, I'd already met Seth. So, okay. But I will say this, my ex-husband and I, we get along great. And that's one thing that I push for, and a lot of people in the community have looked at us to where we go out to eat together, we go to ball games together, because that's what I wanted my kids to be around.
I would have loved to have had that.
Yeah. So, I mean, because you got to look at the kids' mental health, and absolutely. It starts at a young age, and they're innocent. They didn't know what happened. And so at the end of the day, I put their mental health first. Sure. And so, yes, but the mental health part of it. So when I quit, I literally, from that point on, I woke up every day thinking I was going to die. Because you get on social media and you see all this wild stuff about the COVID vaccine, and you don't know if it's true or not. And you read it, and then you see people that are pointing fingers and saying, look what's going to happen to you, y'all shouldn't have done it. And it's just like, if our Creator was here, do you think he would look at these people and say, oh, you shouldn't have done that? No, he would not judge you for, and that's what I said, to each their own, and nobody should be judged. Nobody, until you put yourself in that person's shoes, how dare you? Yeah. And so I was getting on social media every day, seeing this stuff, and I took a step back and I said, you know what, I'm deleting it all. I deleted Facebook, Instagram, X, because X is really where I learned a bunch, you know.
Right.
And
what's an open format?
Right. Yeah. And so I deleted everything. And I was like, I went to work at the school. Yeah. And let me tell you something. That was the funnest job. It was the best thing I probably did for my mental health.
What'd you do at the school?
So when I signed up for the position, at first I thought I was just going to be an assistant.
Right.
I'm thinking I'm just going to be a teacher's assistant. I'm going to pat you on the back when you're having a bad day. When the teacher's mad at you, I'm going to be like, it's okay. You're all right, buddy. No, they put me in a classroom by myself and wanted me to teach language. Okay.
Wow.
And I failed Spanish in high school, terrible. Right. And I was like, you want me to do what? Yeah. And she said, I want you to teach language. So 1 month we did Spanish, 1 month we did sign language, 1 month we did French. Well, I winged that too, by the way. The kids loved it. We watched YouTube videos. They didn't learn a whole lot,
but they had a good time.
We watched YouTube videos. I mean, I was the fun teacher. But also, a lot of my natural health journey began at the school too, because in the morning times, I was...
Real quickly, so before you started your natural health journey, were you out of shape, overweight? Were you in a position of life?
I didn't even mention that. So also what started my natural health journey was my mom had a stroke right before I left medical device. And that was a huge eye-opener for me too, but also because when she had the stroke, when we got to the... I'm sorry, back up. She had the stroke, yes. And then with the stroke, she lost her speech. And so we began rehab and all that. But one of the neurologists that we saw, thank God, he said, look, you need to quit sugar and carbs because sugar and carbs is really bad for the brain. And this will help you heal and hopefully help you with your brain and getting your speech back. So in 2021, I went completely sugar-free, carb-free with my mom.
Right. And then you just seen this eye-opening experience taking place right before your eyes for her and herself.
Yeah, because she luckily lived through the stroke. And then that year later got 90% of her speech back. Sugar-free, carb-free, started walking 3 miles a day, quit drinking, quit smoking. I mean, she was the most compliant. If you need a compliant patient, she was the compliant patient.
She wanted to live.
She did everything she was supposed to.
How old was she at the time?
Oh, man, I'm not good with numbers. She was 60-something.
Yeah, when it happened to her.
Right, yeah. Well, then that following year, she had to have a pacemaker placed. Well, so the day she had to have her pacemaker placed, I'll never forget, I went to her house that morning because I had to go cover a case far away. And she had something, it looked like she had spilled her coffee. And I was looking like, that's not normal, She doesn't usually just spill her coffee. Well, she was wearing a heart monitor at the time. And the phone rang and they said she needs to come in right now. Well, so when she made it to Baptist DeSoto and we got up there, they literally did not know how she was alive because the heart monitor, what it had picked up basically said she should have died,
So what was it, leaking?
No, it would just said her heart had stopped.
I know, but you said she had spilled something on her shirt.
So I'm thinking in my mind, whatever episode happened, when it happened, she spilled her coffee.
Oh, I see.
That was a red flag for me when I knew something was off that morning. And then the phone rang,
Gotcha.
And so I just witnessed a miracle. I mean, I literally, when that day we were in the hospital, he looked at me and her and said she should have died.
Oh, wow.
And so my natural health journey there's been a lot of different things that started, and I'll back up. Another reason why I've started was my husband and I do a lot of volunteer work with the Arca Butler Disability Hunt that we have every year in Arca Butler. So when I was there the first year, my cousin had just died, and he had been having kidney issues and having seizures, and it was kind of expected. He had Lowe syndrome. We'd have known, that it at some point it was going to come to that, but it still hit me hard,
Sure.
because knowing what I know now, I don't know, maybe it could have he could have prolonged his life, maybe possibly
Sure.
if there would have been some kind of dietary intervention at some point in his diagnosis and all the above. But anyways, so when we went to the hunt, the first year that I helped out, there was a man there, and you meet a lot of different people when you talk to them. And we were talking about the United States and things and the healthcare industry and corruption and all the above, rabbit holes out the wazoo. And he just kept looking at me, and all he kept saying was, we just need to get healthy.
Yeah.
That's all he kept saying over and over again. I'm like, man, what is he talking about? Like, no, there's all other kind of factors we need to be worried about besides just getting healthy. And it didn't hit me until fast forward to after my mom's pacemaker placement. And then I got put into a heart monitor. And then I started learning more about metabolic health. And now I understand why he was saying that. That yes, as a society, we have got to get healthy because we are not living longer. We are dying younger. And we've accepted that. We have accepted, oh, I'm 40 years old. Yep, it's time for me to get on blood pressure medicine. No, it's not the way it should be. But we've accepted that.
Yeah. I'm one of them.
I mean, it's the amount of people I know that are in my age.
Yeah.
That are already on blood pressure medicine and cholesterol medicine.
I think it's the foods. It's all the stuff that's been allowed to be put in, like the processed foods, the substitute for sugars, things that are not natural.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I guess that comes in line with what we're talking about, with like where you come in with your naturalist point of view on things.
Yeah. So fast forward to when my mom went sugar-free, carb-free, she learned how to make all kinds of stuff because we're sweet eaters, and I'm a foodie. I've always wanted to own my own restaurant. And so one of the doctors I used to work with, he owns a couple of restaurants in Memphis, and he would always joke with me and say, that's the hardest business you'll ever have, is running a restaurant. And I'm like, no, it's got to be a dream. Like I want to own my own restaurant or I want to be the food tester. When you go to the barbecue competitions, like I'm a foodie. I love to cook. My mom loves to cook. And so she got creative. She learned how to cook all these sugar-free desserts, and I mean, didn't miss none of it. I mean, she was making ice cream. Well, then, like I said, I've been sugar-free, carb-free since 2021, and I got pregnant with my third child. So my first child, I had gestational diabetes, Luke. When I was pregnant with him, I went carb-free, sugar-free. Had him, lost weight like that. I mean, it just because I hadn't eaten sugar or carbs the entire time. Like I didn't even gain weight. It was great. Got pregnant my second time. Didn't have gestational diabetes. Ate what I wanted to. Gained a bunch of weight. Took me a full year to lose it. Well, then, so Luke's 10, Lainey's 8. So then I get pregnant with Bonnie, and I'm a lot older. So I get diagnosed with gestational diabetes again. I'm like, this is great, but I'm not worried about it because I'm like, I've been here before. I've already don't eat sugar. I already don't eat carbs. Like,
sure.
This is no big deal. So that was also part of my natural health journey because I learned through that experience how much stress affects your health too. Like, even though I was sugar and carb free, when you have gestational diabetes, you have to check your sugar 4 times a day. So I'm basically a diabetic,
Yep.
Well, I didn't understand at the time when I was pregnant. I also took a new job back in the medical device. So I was at the school. I went back into medical device. And at this point, it was another spinal cord stimulator company that recruited me. And their spinal cord stimulator is supposed to be to where it's something like you've never seen before, never heard of. It's going to read the ECAP of the spinal cord. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. I'll give it a whirl. I'll get back into it. And to be honest with you, I hate to say it, but the school, I was not making any money at all.
Right. Yeah. It's very minimal.
And I went through my year of deleting social media, out of sight, out of mind. My mental health, I felt a little bit better. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put everything in God's hands, because at the end of the day, He's got me. And despite what Joe Blow says on Facebook about whatever's going to happen to me, I'm not going to listen to it. So I got back into the medical device world. I got on my Facebook, got all that back, because I was like, you know what? I can't stop living. I've got to just put my faith in Him.
Sure.
And so that's what I did. So I got back into medical device, but then also I was pregnant. And so when I went to training, I was 32 weeks pregnant. So I was massive. And, but I was like super strict. I was one of these gestational diabetes pregnant person that they're like, oh, just one bite's not going to hurt you. Nope. I was to the T, no carb, no sugar. Well, I noticed when I was checking my sugars, they were always running high. And I'm like, why? Why is it doing that? Because I am to a T. I am just not eating anything that should be doing that.
Right.
And I learned real quick what stress can do to your body. So if you're super stressed out, it's gonna affect you. So that's what was wrong with my sugars. I was in training. I was stressed. I was swollen. And so I actually met a doctor the other day that said the same thing. He said stress affects you more than you realize, and that people don't ever talk about it either. So back to mental health. If you are mentally not healthy, you are going to be physically not healthy either. So it all ties in, and we drop mental health at the bottom of the totem pole. Like, it's never talked about, It's always either, oh, they're crazy. Don't talk to them, they're crazy. I've done it before.
Sure.
Until I really started focusing on mental health, and specifically my own, because I'm telling you, there's been times that with what I've experienced in the past 4 or 5 years that I'm like, am I crazy? Did that really happen? And but a lot of it has been different things that God has done that only I know. There's only one person that could have had this happen, and it's the man upstairs,
sure.
The Creator. And so I became very passionate about mental health very quickly in my transitions and all the different jobs I've done, and specifically when I realized how much mental health was affecting my own health.
Yeah.
And so had Bonnie, my third child, and I decided. How
old is Bonnie now?
She's 15 months.
15 months.
Yeah. She's been a part of my natural health journey too, and it's specifically mental health. And thank God she came along, because if it wouldn't been for her at times, my mental health would have struggled too.
Sure. Well, I was going to say the one thing I observed through watching your social media is your mental health. You're sharing it with the public as much as you can, and eating good, exercising translates into a better perspective on life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you would argue that, this naturalist way of going, and of course some people are going to have a little sugar,
a little
carbs.
You still got to live.
Got to live. And then there's another thing. If you don't eat any carbs, then you can become magnesium deficient.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of things that can happen.
It's it all. And what you just said. So after I had Bonnie, I've lost weight before. I played college softball. Like, I know what you got to do to lose weight. Okay.
Sure.
I've done it before. Well, so I really went hard at trying to lose weight because I wanted to get back to feeling good. Well, 2 months goes by, I haven't lost a single pound, and I'm like, what the I'm out here sweating my ass off, like I'm in the garage. I'm really trying, I'm water only. I'm intermittent fasting. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to. And I'm like, what is going on? And it mentally messed with me again to where I'll never forget. I was in Kroger parking lot and I called my mom and I was like, I did this. But I was like, something's wrong with me. Yeah. Something is wrong. And then I was going to I had to go see Stern for a follow-up after wearing my heart monitor. And of course they run lab work and all that. And they're like, we need to put you on a statin. And I was like, absolutely not. I am at the time 33 years old. I don't need a statin. I'll figure it out. I'll quit eating red meat. At the time, that's what I thought. That's what it is. I'm going to quit eating red meat. I do keto. That's got to be the reason why, Well, I began to pray harder than I've ever prayed in my entire life. And I've learned that if you are consistent with praying, that God starts answering. And a lot of times it's scary when it starts happening. But when you see him work in your life, then you realize what path you're supposed to go on. And I was sitting on the front porch, sitting there having my own little pity party, crying about being in the heart monitor, about to be put on statin, can't lose weight, and back to my dark place of, I think I'm going to die, something's wrong with me. And my phone rings and it's my coworker that I've worked in medical device with my entire career. And he was like, Rachel, I've got to tell you about what the doctor that we worked with got me on and what it did for me. And he was like, specifically for my cholesterol. And I was like, I said, Derek, it's so funny that you're calling me and talking to me about this. I said, because I was sitting here having me a little pity party about thinking I'm going to die because they're about to put me on a statin. And me and you both know with what we know about the medical world, that's going to lead to more meds. And I'm not ready for that. Yeah. And he was like, well, just sit down and listen to what happened. So he was going to meet with a neurosurgeon that we used to do cases with all the time. And he had just had lab work too. And sure enough, his cholesterol was high, but he is 50, or he was 54 at the time. Yeah. And he was a former Major League Baseball player. So he's like me. He can lose weight. He knows how to be healthy. He knows how to eat right, blah, blah, blah. But he's had cholesterol problems since he was in his 30s, just like me. But he's never taken medicines for it. Well, the last time that he went and had lab work, they told him the same thing. Hey, it's about that time that you might as well just get put on a statin. Well, when he went to see this doctor that we work with, he was there to meet with him about implanting our expensive battery. That's the only thing he wanted to talk to him about. Well, the doctor was like, what do you know about insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome? And Derek was like, I don't know shit about it. I don't know. I'm here to talk about that spinal cord stimulator that I want you to implant. He was like, well, I want to talk to you about this. And so Derek was like, man, you know what? He's a doctor. I need his business. I'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about, man. Let's just sit down and chat. So he asked Derek, he was like, you got anything wrong with you? With your labs or nothing? He was like, well, it's funny you say that. I just had lab work done and my cholesterol's a little high. I could probably lose 10 or 12 pounds. He's like, well, I want you to try this stuff that I just started working with that I do. And Derek was like, all right, man, I'll try it. And he's like, all you do is drink it. You drink one in the morning, one after lunch, and one before your biggest meal. Go do that. 30 days later, go have lab work done, and then call me and let me know what happens. So Derek's like me. He's going to do whatever this doctor wants because we need business. He's in a non-compete. He's the only doctor he can talk to, right. I need his business. I need money. And so he was like, I'm going to do what he said, Rachel. That's what he wants me to do, whatever. So he calls me. He's like, I'll be damned. I go have lab work done and I have a normal lipid panel. And the nurse looks at me. He's like, what'd you do? And he was like, it's this crazy drink that this doctor told me to do. That's got to be what it is. So I said, where do I get it?
Right.
I'm sitting here thinking, is this a sign? This is
miracle.
This is drink. What I need to do, So I do it. And I'm one of these people, like I told you, I'm going to follow it to a T because I've got to know if it works or not,
right.
And so I get it and I don't tell anybody what I'm doing because first off, I'm also one of these people that I'll try anything. And that's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes. But I've tried everything. So I was like, man, whatever. I'll try it, I follow it. What I thought when I first got it the doctor because he's a friend of mine, and I reached out to him because I was on maternity leave, and I was like, hey, Derek said he met with you, blah, blah, blah. And, I'm going to order it. And he was like, yeah, just order it. And all you do, you drink it, And I'm like, okay, it can't be that hard, like shit. And so I get it. And I start drinking it, and I'm thinking I'm doing it right. And I noticed there was times that like my stomach would get a little upset, but I was like, I don't care because I keep getting on the scale and I'm losing weight, so it's got to be doing something, we also live in a world where we outweigh long-term risk versus side effects. Like as long as we get what we want, we don't care. That's what also is wrong with the society we live in today. Like we don't care about side effects.
Right.
As long as it does our little bitty thing that we want it to do, we don't care. And that's the mindset I had at the time. And so 2 weeks goes by, and a dietitian that works with him calls me, and she was like, hey, I work with, the doctor you work with, how are you doing on it? And I tell her, she's like, well, you're doing it wrong. I was like, of course I am. I just winged it,
Yeah, I winged it.
And so the tea that I drink, like I'm drinking it right now, you're supposed to sip it like a tea. So in tea terms, you're not supposed to down a tea. So I used to drink Advocare. I love the spark. I'm a caffeine junkie, and I would just chug the Advocare and just boom, go about my day. So I was just doing it the same way. I would just chug it. Well, you can't do that. So with the tea, you're supposed to sip it. You know how when people sip with their pinky, that's what I had in mind. Like you're supposed to sip it. So when I started doing that all went away, and a month goes by, and I'm down, I think I was down like 15 pounds. And I could not wait to get lab work done because I was like, I didn't tell anybody.
Going on in my body.
I was like, I got to get lab work done because this is when I know if it's going to work or not. Because also, I don't want to tell you to do something or my best friend to do something unless it works for me, because I'm not about to make a fool of myself.
Sure.
Like I'm not that type of person. And I learned that in medical device. Like I'm not about to implant a device in a human being unless it works. And that's one reason why I stepped away from my med device job, the last one, because if I don't believe in it, if I wouldn't implant it in my own mom, why would I implant it in you? That's just the mindset I have. I'm a good human. I believe in karma. If you do good, you get good. If you do bad, you get bad. So I couldn't lay my head down at night at my previous job because I'd seen it work at times, but I just didn't believe in it. And that's on me. It may have done great for somebody else, but I didn't believe in it. I think that's the referral
of going home and getting a good sleep knowing that you didn't wrong anybody.
Exactly. I just didn't want to ever put it, and then somebody come back to me and like, well, I thought I was going to get relief from it. And I can't live with that. So,
So what's this amazing tea?
Okay. So yes. So it gave me a normal lipid panel in 30 days. And that's when I was like, all right, I'm about to run with this. But my next guinea pig is going to be my mom. So my mom, after her stroke, she's on a slew of medicine.
Yeah, probably all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And I could not understand why after her stroke, she quit drinking, she quit smoking, no sugar, no carbs, water, walking 3 miles a day. Why do they keep adding meds? Like her blood pressure continued to go up. And I'm like, something's not right here. You're telling me the most compliant patient you can have that's lost weight, that's done everything she's supposed to, and we're still getting on blood pressure medicine and you're about to put her on another one? Like, something's not right here. So Derek and I, the guy I work with, he put his dad to the test too. So his dad is a diabetic of 20 plus years on 4 different medications, including insulin. So and
probably in his 70s or 80s at this time.
Late 80s. Yeah. And then my mom's in her 60s. So same thing. So his dad, within, I think it was 2 months, he's off all 4 of his diabetic medications, including insulin. And his endocrinologist is like, what in the freak are you doing?
Right.
And same thing with my mom. Now with this, everybody's different because depending on your metabolic health and how metabolically sick you are, either it's going to work in 3 months or it may take longer. So like my mom, in 4 months, she's off both of her blood pressure medications and her statin. It's been almost a year, and we're finally just down to just her blood thinner. So, I mean, it took a little bit longer, but she didn't need to lose weight or anything, but she just needed to get metabolically healthy, and that's what it did for her. So my favorite story out of all this was when I really, really, really believed in it. Not only for my results, my mom, Derek's, his dad's, but so Derek's wife went through, when me and him were working together, she developed a type of blood cancer. And so she had to go through chemo in 2021. So about the same time my mom had her stroke, his wife was going through chemo, and we were both, I mean, we kind of only had each other. Like we were trying to still work, still build our business, and of course with chemo, it comes along with radiation and all that. So a lot of patients develop chemo-induced neuropathy. Well, we in the spinal cord stimulator industry, when we were working with my first medical device, we implanted our device for a lot of chemo-induced neuropathy patients, because the chemo-induced neuropathy, I mean, there's nothing you can do for it. It's like you're literally maxed out on gabapentin and you're a walking zombie, because there's that radiation. I mean, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so I did, when I was at our first company, I loved those patients too, because they actually got relief, because there's literally nothing that can fix it. So Derek's wife developed chemo-induced neuropathy, and she was a teacher, and she couldn't wear shoes. She couldn't work out. She couldn't, when she went back to work at the school, they had to move her classroom right beside the bathroom because it hurt so bad for her to walk long distances. She had to sit in her chair for periods of time. And it mentally messed with her too, talking about mental health. Pain and mental health literally go hand in hand. So Derek kept telling her to try it, and she was like, I'm not doing that. There's no way, there's no way a drink's going to do that for me, and he's like me, even with my husband, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. At the end of the day, it's up to that human, And that's what I've learned too with all my natural health journey. So eventually though, she decided, she came to Derek, she was like, all right, I'm going to give it a whirl. What do I got to do? So, he educated her on how to do it, because the key to this is if you don't do it right, it's not going to work. So I tell people, it's just like taking a blood thinner. If you don't take your blood thinner every day, you're probably going to have a stroke, So you've got to take it every day. So that's the same thing. When she first started, she half-assed it, and then Derek, explained to her, like, look, either you do it right or just don't do it at all. So she finally started doing it the right way. Do you know that her chemo-induced neuropathy in 3 months, 95% of it's gone? Back wearing shoes, back working at the school, back working out. I mean, she got her life back, and she got her mental health back. So there's a gut-brain axis. So I'm halfway through getting my naturopathic practitioner certification. So I've learned in this journey of this metabolic health, we do educational videos once a week. We have all kinds of doctors that get on there that have basically left the big pharma world, and they have geeked out on this. So when I say geeked out, kind of like my husband with turkey hunting. He absolutely, he knows everything about it,
Knows everything about a gobbler.
Exactly. So I started geeking out on this. So when you start getting other doctors to geek out on it, they're like, and then you have doctors that are like, seeing these results that we're seeing, and inflammation gone, autoimmune disorders, high blood pressure, diabetes, specifically like women, a lot of women that suffer with different cancers that are women related because they're hormone related. Ups and downs with different hormones are not good. We get put on these meds trying to regulate our hormones. I mean, women are all the time. That's the joke, right? Your hormones are out of whack. You're cuckoo. Everything revolves around hormones. Well, I also did not realize how much your metabolic health affects your hormones. And so if you can find something that can regulate that, and we're seeing that. We've got real people that are on here sharing their results of, hey, I had breast cancer, and before that, my hormones were all over the place, and then went through treatment. Yes, I'm in remission, but my hormones are still all out of whack. They get on this, and everything levels out.
Sure.
Hormones are back normal, Facts tell, stories sell. Everything in this is all natural. It's in the physician's desk reference, so anybody can look it up. Any provider can look it up. So when we took my mom to the cardiologist, And he's looking at me like I've got 10 heads when I'm telling him all she did was drink this drink and we're off our meds, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what is it? And I said, well, do you know who Rexall Pharmacy is? I didn't know, never even heard of Rexall Pharmacy until I started learning about this. So Rexall Pharmacy, they used to be a pharmacy just as big as Walgreens and CVS and all the above. Well, in the 50s and 60s, they got shut down or pushed away. I don't know why. I have my rabbit hole theories,
Sure.
you know. And I've met people that have owned Rexall pharmacies that are local here that have told me that some of my rabbit hole theories are correct.
Sure.
But regardless of what happened, Rexall Pharmacy is the ones that did this, these little packets right here.
Sure.
That's all it is.
I see.
It's called Unicity. So
Unicity.
yes,
Balanced mixed berries.
Yeah.
So just mix it in water.
yeah. So you do one in the morning, one after lunch, and that one's before your biggest meal. So I did not realize we're supposed to consume anywhere from 20 to 25 grams of fiber a day.
Fiber.
Yeah, that's all this is right here.
Straight up fiber.
Yeah, and all that is yerba mate. It's an all-natural tea that you drink in the mornings and in the afternoon, and it's natural caffeine. So a lot of the caffeine that we drink today, like I used to be addicted to sugar-free Monsters, the white ones.
Yeah.
And the doctor I used to work for, he was like, if I see you drink that, I'm going to punch you in the face. Like I used to have to hide it from him, you know, because he was like, they're terrible for you. And I was like, I don't care. I need it, you know. And so now he's another reason why I'm on the natural health journey too. He's one of the best pain docs I ever worked for. His name is Dr. Kennard. He's in Oxford. He taught me a lot. I was his nurse one-on-one. And every time he would meet with the patient, he always focused on their mental health. Like, and he would always give them a second chance. You know, we saw a lot of people that were addicted, and he would always address that elephant in the room that nobody wanted to. And it all came back to mental health. And, you know, now he is in the cannabis world. And it's kind of step away from the opioids. You know, he does that now. And
yeah, until our local government decides that they don't want it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's happening recently. By the way, I call bullshit because we know there's being bought off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that because it's my platform. I'll say that out loud.
Right.
But I've had this discussion multiple times in the last couple of weeks with people that are, you know, from the hemp products. Texas is going through a big deal right now to where they're trying to reverse course on their marijuana laws that they have fought so hard to get.
Well, you know, these back to, so again, the natural health, yes, I do, but back to mental health. So I work with the Pink Berets. So I help men and women vets with mental health as well as substance abuse. But in my journey of trying to help the vets with that, I've met a ton of veterans that have healed their mental health or maintained their mental health by either using cannabis with like their medical card. The amount of veterans that I've met, because I mean, I in my work at the Pink Berets, I've got to get on their level too. Like I've got to understand how they feel, and you know, right now a lot of vets, they're not happy. You know, and I understand why. And with what I've learned, that's why I've become so passionate about working with veterans, is because in my story of what happened to me, you know, in my medical field career, you know, with how I felt, like I said, I wake up every day thinking I'm going to die because of the choice I had to make. But you think about these vets that go overseas and they're thinking every day they may die, you know, like they're over there fighting and they get back over here and they're just supposed to just live a normal life. Like they didn't have to see or do anything.
No, work your way back into life.
No,
nothing.
No.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
No.
And so then, you know, they go to their provider and they're given a Walmart sack of pills for their mental health that have tons of side effects to them. And a lot of them just throw them in the trash. And then there they are trying to figure out, I still got to live every day or figure this shit out, you know, like, but so I have to meet all these vets. So I ask them, you know, like, what are you doing? The amount of vets that are leaving, you know, where they live to, if they can afford it, to fly to countries or different states with different laws to heal themselves.
Sure.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah. You know, like growing up, you're pretty young compared to me, but like growing up, I grew up in the war on drug era. You know,
right.
the Nancy Reagan just say no
right.
type thing. So any drug was bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The scheduling of drugs makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
That marijuana could be put in the same schedule as heroin or something. You know what I mean? So the hemp that we talk about, CBD products, things of that nature, about why today it's still fought against. You know, we locally just had someone pull it off all the shelves in a local county here.
Yeah.
And I would argue they were bought and paid for by an alcohol industry.
It's just
something.
So I used to be a raging alcoholic.
Did you really?
Oh yeah. Like I used to drink a 12-pack of Miller Lite, and then by 2:00 I was opening up a bottle of tequila, and I ate Adderall like candy.
Oof.
And it took.
So you're only 34. When were you doing this?
2020.
2020. So that was a bad time in your life,
yes.
as a whole. Just everything was coming off the rails.
I mean, I think all of us were in a wild time at that point.
It was tough. It was tough.
I mean, the Adderall, I had no hair. If you really look up the long-term effects of Adderall,
sure,
that has scared the shit out of you. So first off, Adderall, the part of your brain that affects memory and learning, it shrinks it. So if you're a long-term Adderall user, you're just frying your brain. And that's literally what you're doing. And I didn't know that until now, but at the time, it made me feel like a superhero.
Yeah.
It gave me that little boost.
You're thin.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
that stuff that comes with it.
I could out-drink anybody. I was thin. I had energy that I've never felt before. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really big on trying to help people get off that too, because it's...
I think that whatever works for people, I think what I always try to remind folks, Rachel, is about regardless of what it is or, job, relationships in life, find your center point where you're happy. The mental health is so important. The rest of it's just side notes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we have to make a living for sure.
Right.
We have to have some kind of way to sustain us in these days and times. Right. But, if it's someone in your life that's dragging you down, it's a negative impact on you, you need to cut them out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if it's your mom, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
no, you're right.
You're
right.
You got to do it kind of for your peace of mind. So, and it could be like, well, man, I've got 30 years invested with this dude. Yeah. But are they good 30 years?
Yeah.
Life is short. Just put that behind you and move on, you know, whatever the case may be. But finding your healthy spot, whether it be through, it could be a prescribed dosage of an SSR or SRI or something.
Nothing against, like you said, anybody that if that medication gives you your life back, like I said, I'm like you, to each their own. I do not give a I just want everybody to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy and healthy. That's what I always say.
Happy and healthy.
I tell my kids that. Like, I'm always about like their growth and them having good jobs and being happy. But it really comes down about, I had that struggle when I was young. And I think because I'm really only one generation removed from being a sharecropper. My dad was a sharecropper. I don't know if you know what that is, but you're an indentured servant to a landowner.
Right.
All right. That's my dad now. This is all the way up into the early 60s. Yeah. So I have done well in my life, but I think I'm rich, but not financially. I'm just people like wealthy that way. I always say about the family, but you learn from your parents, you start chasing money.
Yeah.
Pretty early on.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to make a lot of money to live good and survive good. And it's easy when you make a pretty good living and go, well, it really don't matter that much. It does. If you go back to making $8 an hour, which you did a little bit at the school rate, you know very well what I'm talking about.
Humble you real quick.
Real quick. So, but not to think, like I said, I'm one generation away from that. Me and my brother are. And to my mom working in a factory, and things of that nature, a yarn mill for like pennies probably, to where, finding happiness is important more so than money, so try to find that balance, that work-life balance, you know what I mean? Because some of us, man, I was guilty of that. I was chasing the dollars pretty hardcore up through my 20s and 30s, and then somewhere in my 40s, I was like, I'm just not going to treat my life like that. I'm going to do as much as I can for everybody I can in my life, and try to help others and try to make a good living. And I think I'm with you on the karma thing. If I do good for others, I think it'll in return
you do good.
somehow to come back to me.
It will come back to you. When I worked at the school, when I taught language, that's why I literally would tell the kids every day. I said, if you do good, good will come back to you.
I think that.
True. It is true. Yeah. I've seen it happen. And I'm like you. That's what I tell my kids every day, that it doesn't matter what kind of money you make. It doesn't matter if you have your medical card. It doesn't matter if you drink. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire. It doesn't matter if you're the cafeteria worker. If you are a good person, that's all that matters. If
Some
you
of
are
the
a good
best
human.
people I know are part of the disenfranchised, if you will. Like they don't have it. They don't have all the opportunities. They don't have the resources.
Right.
And they're some of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And I want to be around them more than I do others, So,
yeah.
So, and I've met some great people who have it all.
Yeah.
That see it the way I see it. There's very few of those, by the way.
Yeah.
That are very resourceful.
Oh, yeah.
That they want to really impact the community somehow.
Yeah.
They've made it and they're like, what am I going to do with it? So they're out there just finding them, trying to bring light to it. So it's all about community service. But like with this product again, mention it real quick. I know you can even say if you're so
you can get it from me, but Unicity. So that's back to the helping the community. So my goal is I would like to have a nonprofit organization specifically to where kids can afford this, because there is a local friend of mine whose son passed away that had epilepsy, and when I was training for my previous job, I remember when all that happened. And I got a phone. I was sitting there. I was about to take the biggest exam at that place. And let me tell you, talk about winging it. I didn't know jack.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to fail, and I was like, you know what? I was checked out. Like you just said, the medical. I had reached a point that I was like, I do not belong in the medical device world any longer.
Right.
I knew then. So, but my phone rang, and it was a friend of mine. No, he texted me, and he said, "Did you hear about so and so?" And I said, "You cannot tell me. Don't tell me, because I already know. Like I knew something bad had happened." And I remember I went in the bathroom and I just boo-hooed. I cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I came out of the bathroom, and this girl came up to me and was like, "Oh, it was my birthday." They were like, "They got you a cake." And I was sitting there thinking, I'm not going to eat it because I don't eat sugar. But I was like, "Thank you anyways." Like I'm going to be nice about it. And she was like, the girl that told me that, me and her became really, really close friends. She was like my buddy, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot you don't eat sugar." She's like, "What's really funny?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Do you know that epilepsy can be cured by just, or like, not, I don't necessarily think she said cured, but you can really, really help somebody with epilepsy if you cut out sugar and carbs." And I was just sitting there thinking, all I could think about was my friend's son. And I was just like, I wonder if anybody has ever said anything to these kids that suffer with epilepsy. Hey, let's try, what kind of diet are you on? When your dog gets sick and you take them to the vet, usually they ask, what do you feed them? What do you feed them? Because it's obviously something that they've changed in their diet, or something that's affected your animal being sick. That's usually what it is, unless they get hit by a car or something,
Sure.
It's, what are you feeding your animal? Well, we don't ever ask. You go to the doctor, or I go, and it's not, "Hey, what have you been eating?" "Oh, your blood pressure's high. Here's your pill." It's not, "Hey, what's your lifestyle?"
Sure.
Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about what kind of diet.
Well, there's
you're
no
on.
money in that side, Rachel.
I know. I know.
I learned that the hard way. Like, you shouldn't do that. But here's a pill. Take this every day, and here's another one too. It'll help it. Like that thing.
So my goal is to have a nonprofit organization to where people can afford this. So it is covered by HSA and FSA. So if you have a health savings account or a flexible spending account, you can order this, because it's expensive. It's $156 a month plus tax plus shipping. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I walked away from my big girl job to do what I do now, I took another huge pay cut. So it's even hard for me to afford this.
Sure.
And I have both of my kids on it.
Wow.
Not necessarily the Unimate, but I do have them on the balance, because it's basically a natural statin. But also people are like, "Well, I'm not paying that, so what can I do? Tell me what can I do to get healthy or reverse insulin resistance? How do I reverse insulin resistance and metabolic syndrome without that?" I'm like, okay. Well, when they first asked me that, I was sitting there thinking, shit, I don't know what to tell them,
Yeah, I don't even know myself. That's why I'm taking this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I sat there and I thought, I got to figure this out. So I went home and I broke down every ingredient in there. And I'm like, I'm going to learn this shit frontwards and backwards. I geeked out on it. And when I learned about it, I was like, well, it's really easy. If you can meal prep to where you get 20 to 25 grams of fiber in your diet before you eat your main meal, and if you can intermittent fast, you're good. So really, if you can do that, you don't need this. But me, as a mom of 3,
Dude, I don't know how anybody could do that. Like living life.
So unless you are like a husband, wife, you have no kids, you have the perfect job, you have perfect time management, you can shop and do everything like you want.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, a human can do that. Well, we don't live in a perfect world. So me as a mom, I'm like, you know what? I can, it's all I can do to just make sure my kids get fed, and so what if I can I don't have to meal prep. I can at least give them this. I don't have to force an avocado down their throat that they're not going to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not going to eat broccoli. They're not going to eat anything green, period.
I think I was like 50 before I ate my first piece of broccoli.
Me too.
Yeah.
I just started liking avocado not too long ago. But so that's what I tell people. If you can live in the perfect world where you can do everything to not need this, yes, you don't need it.
Right. Fiber is really important part of our lives. And I think that people, I had to learn that in the last decade.
Me too.
Yeah,
even on keto. So I was the keto cult to where I was like, we don't eat carbs and we don't eat sugar, until I started learning about metabolic health. It all goes hand in hand.
Sure.
You've got to have carbs, you've got to have fibers, but what it comes down to, just cut out the seed oils. That you don't realize how much seed oil that we eat.
And everything.
It's even in baby formula. When I started reading the ingredients, we never want to read the fine print. I'm one of those that if you give me a toy to put together, I don't give a shit about the instructions. I can wing it. I'll figure it out.
Toys, tools, furniture. Yeah.
Most of it, yeah. But then I always end up with an extra piece, or I always end up with something not right.
I gotta go back and I'll be like, baby, can you read this?
Yeah.
I'll tell my wife.
Yeah.
She's like, then she wants to,
exactly.
I want another read too.
So I've never been a person to read the fine print.
Yeah.
You tell me to sign here, I sign here. I don't give a shit,
That's right.
Well, this natural health journey, I was like, Rachel, you need to start reading the damn fine print,
Yeah.
So I really started being that cuckoo woman at the store of, I'm going to read everything that's in this damn thing.
I don't think that's cuckoo. I think that's smart play because like we've been just with this idea. I mean, I know I have. I was so fortunate real quickly to grow up in a place with some great parents and great grandparents, had such an amazing support system. We weren't wealthy at all, but like on my mom's side, my grandparents like 100 feet away, spent most of my time with them. Well, they were from the Depression. So like they learned how to cook everything.
Literally.
And so it was fatty stuff for sure. I'm huge, right? I'm a big dude, but I think it was part of our food that we ate.
It is
we
100%.
ate amazing. So like we're getting raw vegetables, meat every meal, breads every meal. It was like this kind of weird balanced diet, but not for the, what they consider nutritional today. But like, when you've got some form of meat, some form of bread, some vegetable every meal. And it's all homemade stuff.
Yeah.
Grandparents just cooking all day long. You know. And so it's the most amazing food I've ever had in my life. And looking back on it, all my friends who would come over, they always just like, what time are y'all eating?
Yeah.
Like that was the thing because my grandparents going to have this cornbread. Whew, man.
Yeah.
So I looking back, I mean, I took it for granted. All my friends were not eating that way.
Yeah.
They were not.
Yeah. No.
Their parents had already kind of like moved into the late 70s and 80s. Microwaves are around and TV dinners were already coming around.
I'm telling you, if you look at Rexall Pharmacy, the pharmacy that makes this, if you look at the timeline of the 50s and 60s and you look at the chronic disease and you see the timeline, the chart shows it just skyrockets from the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
Back then we were cooking in tallow. We didn't have all these seed oils and stuff.
Sure.
We were still cooking at home.
So my grandparents, the one thing that they used a lot of was lard.
Yeah.
To cook with. Grease, like Crisco.
Yeah.
Like you think, well, man, that's the worst. Maybe not. It depends on what's in Crisco.
Right.
You look back at it, it's just basically lard, It's really what it is. Animal fat. That's all it was, So there's no additives, So like when people think you're cooking with cooking oil, you got to be careful what you're cooking with.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like you need to find the fine print, like you were talking about earlier. So grandparents, they would only cook with certain types of lard because they knew something that we didn't know.
Yeah.
Processed meats were not good.
Yeah.
So everything was usually every day. I'm not kidding you. We would make a trip to the store to get fresh meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't the most expensive. It's probably some cube steak or something like that, even if you know what that is.
Oh, yeah, I know what it is. Yeah. And I'm telling you, when you start eating meat from a farmer.
Sure, a farmer.
And you compare apples to apples, you're like, oh, shit. I need to go down to Johnny's farm down there and keep buying from him.
Absolutely. So that's the thing about, can you afford it? It is expensive. Yeah. It is. It really is. But I think if you start looking at it like, well, what's the cost of living longer and healthier?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And when you start eating cleaner, you start cutting out the refined carbs, the refined sugar, the seed oils, and your body starts to heal itself. You go from eating 3 meals a day and snacking in between to eating more protein. You're probably only eating once or twice. You're not snacking as much because you're full longer. You end up saving money in the long run when you eat whole foods.
Absolutely.
So back to no carbs, no sugar. Well, when I learned about how you needed fiber and metabolic health and insulin resistance, I also started learning about sourdough.
Sure.
And how it's the lowest on the glycemic index when it comes to bread. So I was like, you're telling me I can eat bread again? Like,
I love it.
Love bread.
You can eat a lot of bread.
Oh, yeah. So I'm a sourdough. If I'm going to eat it, that's what I'm going to eat. And, people think it's like a fad. And I'm like, it's not a fad. It's been a fad.
I love sourdough.
Yeah, it's been, it's.
Where do you go to get it locally?
I go to Wild Cultures to Brooke in town. When and she'll, like, if you go to her and you're wanting a starter, if you take a jar in there, she'll give you some starter. That's how I started mine. But if you're a sourdough, those of you that do make it out there, and there's a lot of great people that make it locally. I've had a little bit from everybody, and I like to spread the love. Like I go to Brooke, I'll go to the farmer's market, may get it from somebody there. But sourdough's like taking care of another kid. You got to feed it, you got to make sure the temperature's right and all this stuff.
So to make it's really hard.
So that's why I just go to my friend Brooke and she does it for me. But
so where your local stuff that you go to, give them a shout out where people know they can find this stuff.
Okay, Wild Cultures Bakery. Yeah.
Wild Cultures Bakery.
Yeah, that Brooke in town, she has the sourdough. Of course, the Hernando's Farmers Market on Saturdays. There's all kinds of people there that sell sourdough. I either shop at the farmer's market or Freedom Seed Farm. I get sourdough from them when they make it, and all my fresh veggies from them. They're great people. I just try to support anybody local.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of what we're talking about today on the Local Yokels podcast. So it's kind of where it goes to. Look, me and you could talk all day. I know we could probably go on and on about a lot of different things, and I will have you back on the show because I think you do more than what we could get into one show. So
we could talk for hours.
About it. Yes, we could. So for that, I'm going to have to probably cut it off here today because we can get into too long a format. We'll be into those 4-hour shows. People's not going to watch that.
I mean, I have. There's some Joe Rogan shows that I've really.
You listen to all of them.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm not Joe Rogan, and my customers are not my customers, my followers. They're probably like, what? 4-hour show from Neil? Come on. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. So, but you and I will, and we have time slots and stuff we got to get into. But I want to thank you for coming in. Yeah. Anything you want to shout out real quick before we cut it off? Like anything you didn't talk about that you just want to kind of bring a point to?
Real quick, back to the Pink Berets that I work for, the mental health for men and women veterans and substance abuse. If anybody needs that, please reach out to me. But also, I have been putting up a really, really big fight for the Pink Berets, and specifically going to the VA to try to get help with that. And I am getting my teeth kicked in at times when it comes to that. So if anybody has any resources, please reach out to me about how I can help men and women vets with that. Our facility is on Smith Lake in Alabama. We have a men and women's facility. So a lot of organizations or are government-funded organizations that do this. The vets are bunked together, the men and women. So we actually have a facility for each man, or for a male and a female. So like they're bunked separate.
Right.
So yes, if anybody has any resources or can help me with
have to
that,
get you in friends with Melissa DeBar.
Whoever.
Yeah.
I'll take anything I can get at this point.
Fight Stories with DeBar.
Yeah.
That's the name of her show, but she's also a big vet advocate.
Yes.
She does a lot of stuff and sober recovery stuff.
Yes, send them my way. So I appreciate you having me on the show. It's
nice
been
to
great.
finally get to meet you, and I can definitely tell we're going to be friends for a long time. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming in today. And remember, you want to give your email a shout out real quick? Oh,
yeah. So my email is metabolicsolutions333@outlook.com. So any questions anybody has about metabolic health, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, even if you need kind of guidance on the medical card program, Dr. Kennard is in Oxford, Mississippi. He'd be happy to sit down and discuss any questions you have about that. He's a very thorough doctor when it comes to that. And then, I'm a bundle full of resources, so you never know who I can refer you to.
I'm that person too. I'm a networker. That's what I am. That's what we are. We're natural networkers. Our studio producer, Derek, at SRP Studio, called me the Community Cupid. That's what he called me the other day. I hate it. I don't even like the nickname. So anyway, you can find Rachel on Facebook under her name, Rachel Wooten. TikTok, Rachel Wooten.
Earth to Wooten.
Earth to Wooten. So give her a follow, like, question, share her content. It's usually pretty informative. She's working out sometimes. It's like, what is she doing?
I'm just trying to show people if I can do it, you can do it. That's right.
I think yesterday you were putting a grill together or something.
Yeah, so I'm a very independent female. I'm a tomboy, and I just want people to know if I can do it, you can do it.
You don't need no man.
No.
I
mean, there's at times I like to be taken care of,
Well, sure, but you got to have him for most things.
That's
but
right.
There's some things you got to feel independent about.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, remember to follow us, like us on Facebook, Spotify, Spacebook. Did you hear what I said? I said Spacebook. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm all about aliens too. That's why it's
Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. We're on those formats. And thanks again for always watching and checking out what we're doing. If you have any ideas about a good show, reach out to me. Remember, our fundraiser coming up on October 11th between 10 and 3 at Minor Memorial for Feed My Lambs. This year, we're giving away an awesome truck. We're going to have lots of food, big car show. It's going to be amazing. So we'd love to have you there. Reach out to me, 662-404-2364. Or at the show, you can go through TheLocalYokelsPodcast at gmail.com. You can always contact us through there. For that, we're out. Thanks for coming today.
You're welcome.
See you. Bye.